I'm Al McFarlane. Welcome to The Conversation with Al McFarlane. I'm glad to be here and glad to have you along today. Today's a special program, one of several we're doing in a series called Conversations with Al McFarlane, powered by U.S. Bank. And we want to start off by thanking our friends at U.S. Bank for all the work they do in community and for their support of this program. Today's program talks about one of the jewels of the Twin Cities, jewels of Minneapolis, and that is the Minneapolis Parks system. I'm pleased to have in conversation Al Bangura, who's the Minneapolis Park and Recreation Board Superintendent, along with Charles Rucker, who is a District 2 Commissioner for the Park Board. We're joined by Jennifer Downham. She's the Minneapolis Parks Foundation Chief Development Officer, by Sean Lewis, Minneapolis Parks Foundation Community Relations Manager, and by the guy that leads their team, Martin Wera. He's Minneapolis Parks Foundation Executive Director. Guys, thank you all for being here. I'm looking forward to a wonderful, wonderful conversation. And as I said, what a jewel, what a wonderful asset the Minneapolis Parks are. Our parks system sets us apart, I think, from most communities around the country. And I want to just jump in. First of all, Al Bangura, tell our listeners, our viewers, what services, what it means to be the park board, and what we are delivering to community through our system.
Yeah, thank you. And it's a pleasure to be here today, Al. And and I'm glad you started off with talking about this incredible jewel park system called Minneapolis Park and Recreation. And, you know, we are unique in a way that we are an independent board, semi-autonomous to the city of Minneapolis. But what we also recognize is the incredible support that we have for community and how they love this park system and what it means to them. And the thing I always find amazing is that every day in my work, when I speak to people, there's a connection to this park system. Everybody has a story. Everybody has a story about how they've grown up in the park system, what the park system meant to them, how they were kids and playing the park system. Some people even are continually working for us. They're working in our recreation centers. They've been hired as managers. They're working as park keepers. They're working as seasonal operators. So it is deeply rooted in the history and the vibrancy and the uniqueness of who we are as Minneapolis. And I always say we're a city within a park. And, you know, what's unique about this parks, and I've said this before, is that when it was designed back in 1883, 143 years ago, the people, the forefounders that looked at the system, wanted to make sure that this park system was connected to everybody. It was accessible to everyone. One of the things I always say, too, is that when you walk around the lake, sometimes you take it for granted. When you're staying along the shores of the lake and you're rollerblading, riding your bike, you're swimming in the lake, you're walking, you're driving along the scenic parkways and byways, that was designed to make sure that all people, all residents, everyone has access to the park system, and there's no barrier to those amenities. So when I've always said, when I walk on the lakes and you see those wonderful mansions along Lake of the Isles or Benay-McCosco or Harriet, wherever, that they're not on the actual water so that you can't walk along that, right? They're off. Mm-hmm. They're not. And so there's this, when we talk about equity, we talk about access. And I've also said this too, in our parkways, you can cut through every single neighborhood through our parkways without even worrying about what neighborhood you're cutting through. Mm-hmm. You're just driving. Contiguous, sort of like, you know, meandering 20 miles an hour. It is beautiful. It is unique. And it really, truly connects people in ways that I think people don't really recognize. To have 51, 55 miles of parkways, 140 some miles of, or 110 miles of you know, bikeways and walkways and trails. It is an incredible thing. And I'm grateful to be a part of this. And I think that the residents of Minneapolis recognize that. And we offer every imaginable program you can think about. But I think that more importantly, I think that when people just want to go and sit and they want to just go fishing, they want to go sailing, they want to just go for a walk, they want to just go bird watching, they want to just, I mean, the multiple things that you can do is tremendous. But we don't forget about programming, of course, and we can talk about all of our rec centers and what North Commons is. But it is an incredible storied history and what it means to all the residents. And I know, Al, you have stories. I know Commissioner Rucker. I know all of us on here have incredible stories about this wonderful park system.
Well, let me bring Charles Rucker in first. Charles, thank you for being here. Commissioner, Charles Rucker. And the key word here is commissioner. What does it mean to be a commissioner? You are in your place by the will of the voters of the city of Minneapolis. And what is that responsibility? Describe the commission, its role in oversight and management. How do you support and direct Superintendent Bangura and the team, the mission?
All right. Well, thanks for having me, Al. I just want to start off saying I'm born and raised here in Minneapolis. So I seen the park system from when I was a kid until where it is right now. That's one of the main reasons why I ran, because I started to see a decline, in the park system, with equity across the board. So the reason why I ran is so we can have a voice, so the Black community can have a voice. I originally ran for at large, didn't get that bid, but halfway in, one of the commissioners moved outside of Minneapolis, and then that opened it back up, and then I was able to be appointed through a process to at large. But I decided to run for District 2, where I can concentrate more on my neighborhood, neighborhood parks, the regional parks, et cetera. And I am the but the chair of REC. So since I'm the chair of REC, I wanted to get back to how it used to be, where the parks were bustling. And I know superintendent is supporting that. He's behind that to get it back to the way it used to be. When you seen a bunch of bikes, you knew where the kids were at. And parents that really didn't have like a concern, because they're in the park system. From there, back when I grew up, my alarm clock was to get home was the street light. When it started buzzing, that's when you start heading home.
That's right.
So I was in the park, growing up for years, many, many years. The park raised me. And that's what I wanted our park system to get back to, equity across the board. The superintendent is working really hard on that. I'm working really hard on that. And, it's because, when I see certain parks, how they, they used to be, I can even say when I was at large, I didn't see equity across the board. But now, being in it, having a voice, and Superintendent Al Bangura is making sure that's happening across the board. And we're going to continue to do that. And my goal is to, get our system, our park system, back to the way it used to be, where we had multiple teams, where we had, say we only can have 25 on one team. We had to create another team because we have so many kids, going to the park.
Sure.
We don't turn anybody away. So, with that being said, that's why I ran, and that's why I'm going to continue to be the voice.
Dig into that a little bit and talk about what kinds of teams and where are the teams and what's the difference between when you grew up and what we can do and are doing today. But before that, what about your district? What is District 2? How many districts are there? And kind of what's the boundaries of your area? And how does it relate to your message that you grew up in the park board, in the park system?
Okay, well, I'm District 2, which is, I'll just give you an example. It consists of Ward 4 and 5 and a little bit of North Loop. So we have six districts and 3 at large. At large is citywide. So they don't have a district, but they're still on the park board and still able to do everything that a district commissioner can do. Your question about getting it back the way it used to be, getting it back to where the programs that you had is where you have coaches that actually care and not living vicariously through the kids. And it's about the kids. Bottom line, just for example, I coached at Police Athletic League for 25 years, and it was a program. We stayed with the kids until they went to high school, then we dropped back down to, Pee-wee level at 8, 9 years old, and then start that again. Then they go to high school, and then we started over again, so just so the kids can have some familiarity and the families. And, so, have consistency with things and it worked. It works. And I want to get back to that with, some of the coaches. I'm really involved with, the rec side. And we're just trying to get it back, the way it used to be.
Let me bring in Sean Lewis. I can't think of a better cheerleader, advocate, spokesperson, sort of a walking library. As a matter of fact, he's like the reference library for not only the parks, but for politics and culture and engagement, I think, across the board. Sean, it's always a pleasure to be in conversation with you. And I'm praising you for the tireless work you do in elevating the interests of the Black community without apology, with clarity, and in a way that invites everybody else to understand the power of vision, the power of service, and the appropriateness of our ability to articulate our interest and to have the expectation that they be met, that we negotiate the forward movement of our community. You've done this with North Commons Park. So I want to shift the conversation because I've heard nobody talk about North Commons like you do. Talk about North Commons Park and what does it mean in this conversation?
Well, Al, thank you. What it means to me, someone who has spent a lot of professional positions on the north side, whether it's working at the Urban League, North Point Health and Wellness, Urban Homeworks, that's now Housing in Action, or pushing for UROC to be created. I'm a graduate of U of M and have the U of M have a connection, or even have funders focusing on this area because I'm a member of the North Side Funders Group. What's important to me is that when I started my job in April 2022, I told my executive director and told my immediate supervisor after about 3 weeks, I said, I'll see you later. And they said, what do you mean? I said, no, you don't understand. I have to go out and reintroduce myself in my new role and explain to people what it is that I'm doing. But also, just as important, I have to attend numerous events, whether it's galas, whether it's welcoming a new executive director, whether it's gathering seniors, and listen to what people are talking about. So I understand about issues, trends, concerns, excitement about what's going on. And then as I went over to North Commons, I was listening to the staff. And as I was talking to them, they were saying, well, we see ourselves as a campus. And I said, well, what do you mean? And they said, well, you have North Commons Park, and then across the street, north part of that Golden Valley Road, and you have the YMCA, and then south of the park, you have North High with its senior high and its career and technical center. And I said, you see yourself as a campus? Yes, we're children, youth, families, and others can freely flow between those anchor institutions. And so that began to resonate with me, thinking about, well, how do we leverage what each institution brings so that they can create a stronger impact on the community? But parks are not only institutions for people for sports, recreation, and for leisure. They have an impact on people's lives, physically, mentally, spiritually. It is a gathering place so we can feel connected. And there's research out there that shows that there's been disconnection in our democracy, in our country. And then further disconnection when you had COVID, where you couldn't, go outside. And if you did, you have to be so many feet away from each other. And then even the stuff that happened recently with ICE that was driving some people indoors, even more disconnection. So parks and other green spaces, also sometimes known as civic assets, are ways in which communities can come together of all different social economic backgrounds and all different ethnicities and races, where we can connect, which helps us be a stronger society.
You helped me visualize North Commons. You described it, I think, as the same size or larger than Central Park or something like that. Do you remember that kind of conversation?
Well, North Commons it's 9 city blocks. It's 25.5 acres. I think what you're talking about is Theodore Worth Park. That's acreage-wise is almost close to Central Park. But as Al said, the system in Minneapolis, it's a city within the park that's designed for different parks and different entities of features to connect, whether it's walking, skating, biking, running, what have you. So,
Martin, you and Jennifer are colleagues. They're leaders at the Minneapolis Parks Foundation. Welcome to the program, and thank you for all the leadership support. What is the foundation? Describe its role, its relationship with the body, the Minneapolis Park and Recreation Board, and the park system.
Yeah, well, thank you, Al, for inviting us to be part of this conversation. And the Minneapolis Park Foundation is the primary philanthropic partner to the Minneapolis Park and Recreation Board, but we are a separate nonprofit. But work very much in partnership with the park board to really help promote and strengthen this, like you've said already today, this jewel of an asset that we have in our community. And we have a really interesting and unique relationship with the park board. Even though we are independent, we do have commissioners from the park board appointed to our board. In fact, Commissioner Rucker is one of our board members as well, which we're very happy to have. And then as a non-voting board member, Superintendent Bangora also sits on our board, along with actually the mayor of Minneapolis is a non-voting board member of ours. But the majority of our board is community members, folks who love, grew up in, and care about our parks. And so what we do is we help raise those funds, connect those people who want to see their park continue to thrive and be as wonderful as it can be, with opportunities that the park board is forwarding. Right now, the primary way and primary thing that we're fundraising for is North Commons Park. So we have a goal to raise $23.5 million by December 2027. We're at about $20.3 million right now. So we're very, very close, but not quite there yet, but really excited because this park and this renovation is a promise made to Minneapolis, and we feel very strongly that it's a promise we want to help keep, along with our partners at the park board.
So Jennifer, what's your role as the Chief Development Officer for the Minneapolis Parks Foundation?
Thanks, Al. I am the head fundraiser for this capital project, and I am honored to work with our board and our campaign committee, our North Commons campaign committee, that we put in motion about 3 years ago to raise these funds. It doesn't happen overnight. It's kind of that marathon version of fundraising. But it really is a way for our organization to broaden our base. We are a young organization, only been around just over 20 years. So we are still building awareness within the community that people can give back. And each one of these projects, these big transformative projects, helps us broaden our base and share the word that there's another way to support and have an impact on on the assets you love. So I bring together our board, and I make calls to our very, very generous community here in the Twin Cities that haven't always had the opportunity to make a contribution. You know, lots of arts organizations have already been talking to them for hundreds of years, but we have only been around, like I said, about 20, with a park system that's been around more than 140. So we're playing catch up here and trying to make sure our park system has the ability to do and have the impact and be the benefit that our residents want and deserve and really appreciate well into the future.
Superintendent, give the big picture. I have this number that this is a $45 million project to transform North Commons. Yeah. And I don't know if that number is accurate today or not. I know it went from 5 million to 20 million to 45 million, went back. Talk about that process of how do you ideate the development need and the strategy, and where are we now? Knowing that things can always change, but you've mentioned that we're very close to some target numbers.
Yeah, we are.
Describe that process of coming up with the need, the vision, and the strategy for raising the money to do it.
Sure. I would say that, to really start fundamentally, this started in community. So I want to make sure I say that, right? We know historically through our park system, and I can share numbers later on here, that as Commissioner Rucker speaks to it, we understand that there were, disinvestments in places. There was not the capital and things that happened in areas of our city, and particularly around the north side. We know that in a historical kind of context. MPP 20, Neighborhood Park Project's 20-year plan, we changed that because we looked at how we developed a matrix that talked about actual need based on data, not based on feelings or one's particular push to do something in a particular area. This was based on data. It was based on need. And what we found in that, of course, clearly was that the north side and even the upper south, but north side, we had to invest and make sure that we start to correct that, to really look at what those needs are and make sure that we pay attention to what our community needs. And we understood also that the north side has, and we said this before, the largest youth population in the city. Right now, if you look at the north side in itself, we know that we have to provide those services. We have to do better. And so not only can I share the investments we've put into the north side through just capital and programming and general fund allocations, but why this was so important, this particular project, was because we understood strategically, but also very much from our community. And I will say, I'll shout out to Mike Tate, right? And Brett Buckner at that particular time. They were committed to this. This is years back, committed to this. And they worked very hard to keep pushing the agenda, keep coming to the park board. Mike would stand in the boardroom with his, how are our children, right? He sits right there in that camera and he has it up there because that's a fact, right? How are our children? And he came there every board meeting. He had his vest on. He had the picker he does. He goes these kids out there and they pick up trash from the neighborhood. This is a man committed to this neighborhood, but he's speaking the language for all of the north side, right? He's talking about all the people. He has a deep-rooted history as Commissioner Rucker and many of our constituents. So we know the history, we know the story. That park has been there since 1907. It's one of our earliest parks that was ever acquired and built, right? And so we knew that we had to move this project, what it meant. It started in community. Then becomes the process of literally, here's a dream. How do you get to this dream? And it's a big dream. It's the largest investment in the history of our park system. Largest investment in a neighborhood park. There's nothing that compares. It's a $49 million project. And that's why I'm changing the number again, because it has changed over time. Because initially we started here, and as you know, you start like 5 years, and then all of a sudden 5 years later, inflation, procurement kind of costs, steel costs, and until you're able to get those dollars into your actual plan, it takes time. We are 99%. We know that the budget that we currently have and the project cost of it is $49 million. We know that. And we know it's changed, but we're not going to change our commitment, right? We knew we were going to move and commit to this project and make this happen for our community. They've been waiting for years for this, right? And so we got to work, we were in community. We spent, Sean is an amazing example, and not only our team from our planning teams, but I kid you not, there's pictures that I've seen that we've taken photos of, just random photos. And I kid you not, Sean is in the background somewhere in those photos. That's Sean. I'm not kidding you. I looked at photos recently and I'm like, but that's how deep this man is involved, right? And then you look and you see people from the neighborhood, people that you've seen, that you've grown up with, or people you just know that are in those photos, that are on the ground, that are in community meetings, that are saying this is what we need. And they were deeply involved and committed to this project. They told us what they wanted, and we said, we're going to deliver this, and we're promised we're going to get this across the finish line for you. So it starts with years of work. And I will tell you, just to be very clear, and I know Martin can speak to this too, this commitment came from federal, state, and city, and philanthropic. There's nothing like it. Everyone has contributed, from the mayor's office to the mayor, to Representative Omar, to our philanthropic dollars, to our president and our Senator Bobby Joe Champion, who got $5.125 million. That's unheard of. He got it off the bat right away years ago, got that started. That's what started us. And that was where Mike Tate, we all stood at the Capitol and we fought for this, right? And then from there it started just to roll, right? Then
let me pull a screen up. I've got some numbers that go in the story that I'm going to mention.
That'll be great.
Later this week, and you can walk us through the numbers there. Can you read that?
Oh, let me see here. Oh, it is small.
I'm going to try to make it bigger.
That's okay. Yeah, I need glasses. Yeah. But what I can share is it's a $49 million project, right?
Yeah.
And as Martin was saying, that the foundation has been the largest right now, the largest percentage of the investment. We also are waiting right now, as it's a bonding year, to hopefully get $6 million to get us passed. We need to close this, and if we can get this $6 million from bonding, and I will share it to our constituents, people out there, we need that. We really are working hard. We're hopeful that we get that $6 million, but that is what we need. $3 million came from ARPA, American Relief, 5.1 million from bonding, obviously. From the park board, we recognized initially that we needed to contribute more to get this past the finish line. So the park board literally delayed 1 year of capital projects across our system in order to invest over $10 million more back into this project. So we're at about 12.5 or so million, 30% of the total. The city and the state and federal, those are about 30%. And then philanthropic is about 40%, which is what Martin and Jennifer can talk about. So we're pushing very hard. We are, again, the bonding that we need from the state, that'll be literally the one piece that will get this project finished and completed by 2027. But all of this to say, Al, this is a promise that need to be kept and made for our community. And when you look at historic time in this incredible history and the timelines and the impacts when we built buildings and we dredged all the swamps and created parks and properties and lakes and created the trails, this on a map of historical significance and time and the arc of this history, that project will show as a star, as a shining light on North Side.
Let me jump in, and you guys can talk about this as well.
Yeah.
In one of our previous prep meetings, I mentioned to you my personal story that I share as often as I can because it's personal to me. I remember when I first came to Twin Cities, I'm a native of Kansas City, Missouri. My brother was here and wanted to meet somebody, on Plymouth Avenue towards Xerxes or something like that. Visit a friend, and I was driving him. And I hadn't been to North Minneapolis before. We lived in St. Paul at the time. And I remember driving down Plymouth Avenue, well, not driving down, but west on Plymouth Avenue, and, cross Penn and cross the alphabet of streets that lead towards Xerxes and Theodore Wirth Parkway. But I distinctly remember, Al, turning the curve just after Xerxes, I guess it is. And all of a sudden, this huge chalet rises, sitting majestically on a hill. Yeah. And what I told you guys when we talked last time was that the sensation I had as a young Black man from Kansas City, and this is just years after Plymouth Avenue itself had erupted, and there were still tensions around race, which have not dissipated. They're still there, but they were fresh at that time. I turn this corner and I get the danger feeling in the gut of my stomach, in the pit of my stomach. And the danger is generational trauma that showed up in me, feeling that once I saw this magnificent building, I was moving into white territory. The alarm goes off in my head. What if you get stopped by police over here? They're going to ask, why are you in this neighborhood? What's the point of the message? The message is that our society is so scarred by our history of exclusion, of denial, that often we will, I don't know the right words for it, we'll react in ways that reflect this trauma without understanding it ourselves. When I told you the story, you were telling me a story that others have the same experience I have, but one of the missions, one of the needs, and one of the outcomes of the work you're doing right now is to destroy, to eliminate that trauma from the public and personal discourse by instituting policy and practice that reflects this capacity for our people to feel safe in any of the parks in our system. And as you were talking, Charles Rucker, about kids growing up in the park system, back then the park system probably was just North Minneapolis and down at the the central neighborhood in South Minneapolis, different places.
Yep.
We didn't have a sense of ownership of the entire system. I don't think we knew about how expansive the park system and how beautiful the system was. Am I on the right track? Al Ben-Gur, talk about that if you would.
Yeah, you're absolutely on track. And I have the privilege, and when you said that, it really hit hard to me, Al, because I understood it. When I was a kid, when I was living in Milwaukee, I had an old bike, and I talked about the story. People have heard this before along Lake Michigan. I ride my bike from the east side and all the way down to the Art Institute, and I'd go to McKinley Park and Lake Park. That's where I learned how to play tennis. Two young black, my brother and I, two black kids playing tennis. We became really great tennis players, but we learned it through the parks. We understood at that time, even though there were barriers, the park systems at that time were opening up the doors for us to be engaged and be a part of something, to start to break down the have and the have-nots and the things that you expect and what you should have the privilege of being a part of. I am grateful that since 2019, since I've been in the park since 1995, but I came back in 19, and I had the privilege of being at Lake Hiawatha Golf Course and Solomon Hughes Senior, right, and dedicating that building and recognizing the history of that amazing man and his family. And then Eddie Manderville, the chalet, or the golf course, they're naming that after Eddie Manderville, who had two holes in one tournament, 2 holes in one. I'm not a golfer, so I hope I'm saying that right. What an amazing history, and to break that barrier and to open the doors for all of us, but not just for golfers, but to open and break the barriers that they were not allowed to be in those spaces. And we forget those things, right? We just see it, we come there, we don't understand it, but there is a deep-rooted history that I understand clearly as who I am and growing up. But I have the privilege in this organization, being a part of this, to be able to start to kind of tear those down and to start to open up the doors. North Commons is an example of that. North Commons is why we're investing, why it's the largest investment ever in a neighborhood park, because it is required. It's going to impact there's 72,000 residents that live with the north side. Probably 10 to 12,000 of those are youth. We understand the importance of having this place and breaking down these barriers. And we understand what I said earlier around this racial equity matrix, that we invest in communities that are necessary and what we are supposed to invest in. And I would encourage people to look at what's called the 2025 Park Funding Facts. It's on our website, and you will see on the north side the investment that this park system has put into Northside since 2019 to current time. It far exceeds any other district because it was required for us to invest in that. And we can show that, and we can show the numbers of how the millions of dollars in youth funding that we've been investing into that outweighs even some other locations, because we need to do that. And so, yeah, we're breaking those barriers, and we're making sure we're investing, and we're making sure that we're providing not just good enough, but excellence, the best. That's why that building is going to be unique with its field houses, with the 3 field houses, right? With a brand new water park, with a teen center, with a food court place that you can go in there. It's going to be absolutely amazing. And I will also encourage people to go to the Minneapolis Parks Foundation website. They killed it on the actual on the design. They have a tracking that they do. It's amazing. I'm jealous because I always talk about our folks on the website, but the foundation has an amazing website that not only shows a timeline of a time lapse, but also goes through current project updates and investments. It has all of it in there. It's a wonderful site along with ours.
Jared,
that's
Jared,
really,
pull the website up. Jared can pull it up and can walk us through it too.
It's amazing.
It'd be awesome to do that.
Yeah.
But
I just want to share that too with you, Al, that's yes, we're and I can go on for hours, and so forgive me.
We'll come back. We've got some time. Charles, yes. I wanted you to weigh in here because, again, you talk so wonderfully about being a park board kid and how much the parks meant. And then you talked about the disinvestment, the period of time where there was less engagement, less involvement, maybe less invitation, but you are turning that around right now. So I wanted to have you kind of walk us through what it meant for you as a 5, 7, 9, 12-year-old in the park system. What did you do when you went to the park with your bicycle and before the lights came on and you knew it was time to go home? What was Charles Drucker and his buddies, guys and girls, what were they doing in the parks? What was the world like as a park kid?
Well, the thing about it is, I grew up over in South Minneapolis. So where I started sports at was, at King Park. Then I ended up at McCray Park. So at McCray Park, we had a lot of the black leaders. Mr. Bowman, Earl Bowman, Jack Jackman, Mr. Solomon. They were all there. They were committed to making things right for our community.
Where's McCray? McCray is what location is that?
46 in Chicago.
Okay.
46 in Chicago. So they just made sure that the kids were getting what we should be getting, just like everybody else in these other. I'll say it outside the redlining.
Mm-hmm.
See, we lived within the redlining. We couldn't, our parents couldn't buy homes, outside of that, and we weren't welcome at parks and lakes and outside, just like what you mentioned earlier when you was riding west on Plymouth. It was the exact same thing. So for me, I just revert back to that, to how they had a program for us. It wasn't just we were playing football. We didn't even have a gym. All we had was a storage area, bathrooms, and a water fountain. That's all we had at McCray Park. But it was a community that came together that was all about the kids. And, and that's what I'm trying to get back to now, through those experiences with those black leaders that we had back then. I look at myself as one of the black leaders out here. That's why I started coaching at PAL. So with that being said, I kind of modeled what they were doing for us at McCray Park. It wasn't just about, the sports aspect. It was about our grades. We had to have certain grades. We had to be doing good in the community. They would set up community events that we would have to go to, so not only just the grades. They didn't just go off with, what kind of grades you have. No, we had to, bring that signed by a teacher to show them our weekly progress report. And from that, there's a lot of us that are, successful out here in the community right now. And that's what I brought to PAL, right? And we have partnership with Minneapolis Public Schools, and that's what I want to do with them as well. So our kids can get a positive lifestyle early. When they start with the park board, now we have the Minneapolis Public Schools, and now we can partner up with them just so they can have, a chance out here in life, because there's always barriers.
What's the range of programs that kids can get involved with now? And the reason I'm asking is that my memory, I'm a generation older than you, but in Kansas City, it was baseball, basketball, and swimming, those three things.
No, I'm going to let the superintendent, because he's well versed on everything that we have. So
go ahead, Al, because I want to talk about the transitions. I think the world is different now, and I think you all have intentionally organized pathways for broader, massively broader engagement of individual development through the philosophy of sports and family. So jump in, Al Bangura.
Yeah, if I had my numbers here to share with you just around the athletics, in fact, Director Jack Bartz reported in on the sheer volume of athletics that we do across our system. It is staggering, and it's only increasing. And I wish I had those numbers in front of me to share that, but athletics is really important. I mean, that opens doors for a lot of our young people, not only when they start at 4 or 5 years old and they work their way. We become like and I know this has been said, like a feeder program as they get the 9th grade, right? They come to the park system. You could talk about most of our kids that are in our programs. They started in the parks. They started either with playing football or soccer or volleyball or badminton, tennis. I mean, all those things that we have that we offer is incredible. I was talking about before, Devin George, right? Everybody knows Devin, right? And his family that lives right there in North Commons. I mean, Devin dedicated to NCAA the current gym that is in North Commons that will remain there. And he was there, standing there, dedicating this gym that's going to stay there. And then we'll have the field house with 3 more gyms. That's the history. That's, Larry Fitzgerald, who is deeply involved over at Martin Luther King Jr. Park, right? Is invested in doing some amazing things, right? We talk about these incredible athletes, but they also are deeply connected to the park system, and they give back and they come back, and they just, because it meant everything to them, a place of safety, a place of mentorship, a place of connection, a place of community, right? All those things that we talk about. And we know the programs are important, but I also deeply want to make sure we talk about what community is. And North Commons is, and the North Side truly is an example of that. And that's why this place is so important, right? It's going to build community to a place that deserves it, because it is required and it is needed, because we are bursting at the seams at North Commons alone, and just the programs that we're doing there. It's not enough, because like Sean was talking about, North High comes over, right? They roll over there. They come over there, and right away they know everybody. Hey, Yvette, hey, so-and-so, right? Then you have the Y. We work together on those. We have all sorts of great things in the summer. The aquatic center is like the jewel of that neighborhood, because where do you find water where you can cool off and come and hang out? But now we're going to have this incredible water park where now you can enter into the park building itself, work your way through the building to the water park, which means now we can engage families, right? All at one time. It's not a separate building. It's connected to one, which is amazing. So, but let me also say this. We're also working on technology. So we've been building Spark Studios through our park system. At Harrison Park, which is very close to us, we have a studio that deals with young people who love tech, who love to walk into a building and learn about things around like, does graphic design work, architecture, green screening, podcast, right? Music, video recording, documentary work, anything they set their mind to, 3D printing. It's a place called Spark because it sparks the imagination of young people. So when you hit the door, whatever you want to do, we can create. So we have a relationship with Harrison. We can do that. Wouldn't it be amazing at someday to be able to do the same thing over at North Commons? So it's not, that doesn't leave me. We're going to work on this because we know that if they can land there, we're now taking kids out of their bedrooms and places where they're in their homes, and we're bringing them to the rec center where now you have amazing adults and mentors, but also you're building community. And the last thing I would say about this too, that we invested on the north side alone in money in kids' pockets, right? Through Teen Works, $486,000 in 2024 that went back into kids, in their pockets, into their families. That's what North Commons, that's what North Side did, and the North Side is done. So I just say that that's just a part of the big picture.
So I've got the website for Martin's organization. Pull it up, and you and Martin and Jennifer can go through it.
I'll let them go through because it's amazing.
Go ahead.
Sure. Yeah. Well, so as Jennifer said, this has been a campaign that's been going on for us since 2023. And so we've been really working hard to share the story of that. And we don't need to look at the video because we actually do need to update a couple things. But if you scroll on down, you can start seeing what the superintendent and Commissioner Rucker have been talking about. And, one way that folks are supporting this work is through giving, right? And this is by far the largest campaign the Park Foundation has ever raised money for. And we've received some of our largest gifts ever. We've received a $10 million gift from the WEM Foundation. We received recently a $4 million gift from the Wilson Foundation. That's actually a match. So for every dollar given for this campaign now, up to $2 million, the Wilson Foundation is matching those dollars times 2. So
who's the Wilson Foundation? Who are they?
Yeah, the Wilson Foundation is a fairly new foundation, founded by actually somebody who grew up just outside of Minneapolis and cares really deeply about youth, about really also providing opportunities, and generously chose to give in support of North Commons because they saw the importance of this. They saw the impact that this park and renovation was going to have. So, but in addition to that, I think what also is important to me is we have donations all the way down to $1 and across the whole city. People recognize that this is an important investment in all of our parks. And yes, it's a neighborhood park, but it's also going to be a destination for that whole region and is an important thing for everyone. Jennifer, I don't know if there's anything you would add about the campaign or information that people can see on our website.
Back on the page, Jared, if you go back, that we also have, how to contact your legislator and sharing the news about what we're doing. It is also a awareness building campaign. A lot of times people, it's happening right down the block and they don't even realize. So we're really trying to get the word out. Sean's even gone door to door in the neighborhood, making sure that, the people who are going to be impacted the most are given the opportunity to participate and to, because we want to listen to everyone who is a part of this and who's in the neighborhood.
I want to call this out. Oh, pardon me, but I just really want to call this out because you're on it. Please, if folks are watching this, take a moment right now. Send a note to Senator Champion, Representative Abaje, Representative Lee. They have worked so hard in support of this project, and we don't thank those leaders enough, in my opinion. We hold them accountable, and we also need to thank them. And so we have, a sample. Just thank you that folks can send as well. But yeah,
you and I were on the same page. I was going to ask Sean to talk about Bobby Joe's role, Senator Bobby Joe Champion, and the literature I've read and the story I'm writing talks about the critical leadership that he's presented in supporting this project moving forward. And he's vested. He's a North Sider, right? It's his district. And so, Sean, talk about how important the engagement, the leadership and the citizen engagement is for moving this project forward and for building community as you navigate your way through all kinds of community connections.
Yeah, when I was asking people to write letters of support for North Commons Park, they would ask me, what district is this park located in? Who's the state senator? Who's the representative? And do they support the project? And, people are not going to support legislative funding if the project is in a district and that elected official is not behind it. So that's just essential. If you don't have that, you're not going to get any funding. Bobby Joe, he is a wonderful person who recognizes what Charles was saying and Al was alluding to about people kind of feeling that they haven't had their fair share of resources, not to say that they don't have assets. And so he works tirelessly to make sure projects like North Commons, like other capital campaigns that are taking place in community, get funding as well as programs. And for that, he kind of takes a little heat over at the legislature, but he's understands the significance of doing that. And Bobby Joe gets it that, there are a lot of talent on the North Side, and how do we shine light on that talent so it sparks other people to step up and demonstrate their talent? I will say that working with the senator and learning how he feels about his district and how his staff shows up and how they care motivates me to work harder for this project. Yvette Griffith-Gray, who's the park director, who's now been promoted, to reconnect with her when I met her in college, in her dedication, that I said that I will work regular hours, evenings and weekends, and put in the extra effort so you can get the facility you deserve, so you can provide the programming you need and want to do to the community. So elected officials and staff and how they work together to do what needs to be done to provide high quality, to high impact and relevant to the community is essential. But Senator Champion, we just cannot thank him enough in terms of his dedication, his commitment, his guidance, his leading by example, guidance in how we navigate the political system. Bonding is different. It requires a supermajority that takes place at the legislature. So you have to pursue Democrats as well as Republicans.
Jared, if you can, maybe Jennifer, you can direct him. There are some graphics, I think, that show artist renditions of what the redeveloped project is going to look like. It'd be good to go through that if you got that.
Let me see.
And if you got it, you can go ahead and put it up. Or when you get it, let me know, because you can walk us through that, Al Bangora. Where's the best
Al,
place for that?
Yeah, Al, I want to also make sure I throw in here too, just to recognize Representative Lee and Representative Abaje. I mean, they're carrying that jacket right now, right, for this bonding for that $6 million to finish this project. I want to make sure that we have that commitment, and I want to make sure I acknowledge them. I mean,
Awesome.
but all three. But this is why it's so important this year that, you know, and we said the top, we have what, 5 or 6 bonding things we put forward to the state for the capital, right? The top 3 are North Commons. 1, 2, and 3 is North Commons. So that's how committed we are to that.
We're pulling up this. Are those the images there?
Here we go.
Yeah, Jennifer, walk us through this.
So this one, the aerial view, you can see downtown in the background. This shows the wholly redone water park, and the 3-court field house has those sort of triangular, that triangular rooftop that will include solar panels. Parking, we lost a few parking spots, but you'll see there along Golden Valley Road, there's now going to be a pedestrian friendly connection to the park. And also the crosswalk between the YMCA there on Golden Valley and the park, to make it a more accessible space to West Broadway, which is just 1 block there to the left or to the north. And then I should point out in the far corner, the brown and black image is the current rec center that will be remodeled, and right there. Yeah. Sorry, they're so small.
Okay. It's okay.
But if you move, oh, there you go, Jared. Thank you. You could go to the next one. This is the entry plaza where it says art, that it will not say art, but it will be a piece of art that Roger Cummings and Tongo Cummings have been commissioned to make with support from the city Minneapolis Art Department. And the water park is on your right there.
Who's Roger Cummings? That's first off. Don't just say his name.
Oh, you're not joking. The founder of Juxtaposition, the co-founder of Juxtaposition
That's
Arts,
right.
with Deanna Cummings.
Another community asset and institution. Absolutely. Yeah.
And there are 4 other artworks that will be incorporated into the project, done by other North Side artists.
Okay.
The next image, this is one of my favorites. Oh, not this one, sorry. But this is just a great lobby. Go ahead, Al.
Well, the challenge here, Jennifer, is that most people are going to be seeing this on television or on YouTube or our devices, but 100,000 or so will be listening to this on the radio on KFAI. So you got to describe things in a way that a person can see it, visualize it with their radio eye. So go ahead.
Great. The entrance lobby is this very expansive hangout space that is has natural light coming from both sides and above. It also intersects with this raised, it's actually ground level track. So for walkers and runners, you can use this indoor track, free and available 365 days of the year. Whenever the park is open, you can access this track. And then the next slide, we have the 3-court field house, which will, maybe let's go to the next one. Here we go. The 3-court field house will have that natural light, and the track is raised above the field house, the 3 courts, because responding to the community desire that it isn't this huge building that it's sort of like an eyesore. We sunk the field house into the ground, a whole story. So it's only as high as the neighboring houses, this whole building. And then this is also going to be accessible for those who have alternate modes of transportation, like wheelchairs, strollers, walkers. So you can get down to play your adaptive sports and not have to wait for the elevator, but there's a ramp that will allow for more accessibility. And the track right here will be accessible because it is on the ground level, even though it looks like it's above.
Jennifer, do you want to mention the art on the windows too, where it says art?
Oh, right. So the a really cool not exhibit, but placement of for one of the artists, it will be these vinyl window coverings, so they're sort of transparent. So from the indoor and outdoor, that'll allow for privacy for the homes across the street and also for the people working out inside, but have a really fun aesthetic by a local artist there on those windows.
Awesome. Let's do a couple more slides and we'll start wrapping it up.
How about this? Let's go over to the swimming, the water park. Those are kind of fun.
Yeah.
So the water park is fully redoing the water park. There'll be a lap pool. There'll be a what do you call it? Lap pool. Sean, wait, jump in here if I'm skipping some things. Wading pool.
Water slide, wading pool, water slide.
Water slides.
Yeah.
And then lots of shade coverings. We got a grant from the PCA to support extra shade coverings because when it gets really hot, but people might not want to be in the pool the whole time, they can come and hang out and watch their young ones and not be, have the sun on them all the time.
Well, so this is just beautiful. I mean, for those who are listening on KFAI, I'm sure you can picture this in your mind, but we're actually looking at these slides, and those who are checking us out on the social media platforms and television programs, you'll see this. By the way, even if you are listening right now on KFAI, you can go to the Insight News channel, the Insight News YouTube channel, and access this program, review it, listen to it, look at it, and see the beautiful things we're talking about here. So we encourage you to do that. You can also leave comments. There'll be a live chat when this program goes live, and we'd love to have you comment, even tell stories, memories, expectations, things that you feel that this invites you to reflect on. I want to sort of begin wrapping up. Al Bangura, whose shoulders do you stand on? You sort of mentioned growing up in Milwaukee, but I always kind of asked some of my guests anyway, what is the sense of mission that guides you? And I ask that knowing that you're going to tell me something about your lineage, your genealogy, and the obligation you have both to those who preceded you and your intention for those who follow. So take a minute and just flow with me on that.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, and I always tell a story, of course, growing up as my brother and sister grew up in Milwaukee, and what park systems meant to me at that particular time, and also community that opened the doors for me to be where I am today. Because I tell people, I was that kid, that we all talk about, right? That we all say we got to lift them up and provide opportunities and pathway and access and I had many people in my life that offered that to me growing up, and I am fortunate to be where I am today as an example of a child that's navigating through the world as a Black child, as a child of color, as an African American young man, and I was very lucky, very, very lucky. But I recognize that I could not have been where I am without my amazing family and my parents and the people in my community that were my coaches and people that I looked up to. I tell a story that this is a true thing. Arthur Ashe, because I'm a tennis player. We were young African-American. My brother and I were tennis players that played throughout the Midwest. We're playing in the USTA. And we came out of nowhere in Minnesota. We were at Coon Rapids High School. And they're like, Coon Rapids with tennis program? But here were these two young Black boys. Top three, we had Tom Oakshide, myself, and my brother. And we were the top players. And we played throughout the entire state and through the Midwest. We played in USTA tournaments, and we were verbally, it was pretty horrific, the things that we dealt with from racism and the N-words and things like that happened to us growing up. But I had a strength in myself because my dad, I'm from the Republic of Guinea, West Africa. My father was born, and my whole family is from my father's side there in Republic of Guinea, West Africa. I was born there. My brother and I were born there. My sister was born in Milwaukee. and we came to Milwaukee. And my dad always put into me understanding who I am as a human being, as a person, and and he understood it. And he said, "You're not a victim. Make sure that you understand that you are powerful." Understood my history, understood where I'm from. My mother was amazing too, of course. I don't forget her, of course, amazing. But Arthur Ashe came to the Twin Cities and met with me and my brother at that time when this was all happening. I sat with him in a room, and talking about a man that I admired and a man that, if anybody knows about Arthur Ashe, and what he did for apartheid and what he's done for tennis, what he's done for humanity as a Black man and as a leader, and an incredible thing. So for me, my father, my family, Arthur Ashe, and then in this park system, because of the kid growing up and what it meant for me, I'm deeply, deeply committed to making sure we advance the lives of our young people, and we open up the doors of opportunity for them, and that we make sure we provide safe and welcoming environments and places where they can be and grow and develop and find jobs and play and recreate and just be themselves, right? That's the park system. There's no barrier. There's no membership. There's no cards. You walk in from the street and you go into the building, and there you are. And the last thing I would say about this too, because I can go on for hours about this, when a child walks in that room and you're behind that desk and that person behind the desk says, "Hey, what are you doing today?" And the kid says nothing. He goes, "Come do it with me." If we don't do that, that kid goes outside and then he says, someone on the street says to him, "Hey, what are you doing today?" "I'm doing nothing." "Well, come with me." So we're fighting for the lives of these kids, right? Mm-hmm. And so we have to provide excellence, the best things that we can offer, not just status quo and not just okay, but the best. And this is what North Commons is. This is my commitment to this park system and everything we're doing, building the Spark Studios, working through all the things that we're doing, all the programs we're offering. It is critical to the health and wellness of the next generation that's coming up behind us. And as Charles Rucker said, Commissioner Rucker, this is important that we build what parks are and what they have meant to our community and what they have meant to our commissioner growing up. He wants to see that again, and I'm committed to that, and we're going to keep building it.
Commissioner and Martin, what do you want from the community? What do you need from the community? Take about a minute each. We're going to wrap it up. And let me say to our producer here, Jared, we're over 1 hour, but we'll edit this into 1 hour. So just keep talking, and we'll edit this part out. What I'm saying will be edited out, and we'll keep going. So be comfortable. But so the question then, start here again, is Martin and Charles, what do you need from the community?
Well, for me, for the community, I just want them to really understand that this is real. As you see, on this your podcast, there's a village of people that have come together to make this happen. Not just, on the people that are on your podcast, but we have the players that we talked about earlier, the Senator Bobby Joe Champion, the Representative Bajay, Representative Lee. And then the Minneapolis Parks Foundation. We're all coming together to make this a reality for our community, that always somebody says they're going to do something. It sounds good, but then it never happens. But now, when I was at the groundbreaking, it happened. Then when we needed more money, from different entities and from the park board making a more commitment to the project, then you can see the community was like, oh, okay, now it's really happening. It's really happening because of just the history of, the Black community, where it's being said, but nothing happens, and then, with that being said, it's just like we're working hard. We're working hard for this to be not just a facility, but a place where everybody can come. Because back in the day, if I wanted to go, take my kids to a nice facility for a birthday party, we would have to go outside of Minneapolis. Now you're able to go to North Commons now and have those same type of parties, because it's going to be inviting that way. And earlier I was going to, mention about, with AAU basketball tournaments as well. Just like what Sean was talking about, it's a campus. So we're going to be able to use North Commons. I'm talking about the gyms now, North Commons. We're going to be able to use North. And then when V3 opens up their gyms, we're going to be able to use their gyms. So, with that being said, I'm I'm just trying to, be a leader that I had, when I was coming up.
Mhm.
So, my motto, for our Black Firefighters Association is all that I am, I owe. I live eternally in the red. So you always have to bring somebody up, and we're trying to bring this community up so we can have equity across the board in Minneapolis. So that's where I'm at.
Martin?
Yeah. Well, first, I just want to say thank you, Mr. McFarlane, for giving us this opportunity to share this story and this time. And I think just listening to Commissioner Rucker, Superintendent Bangura, I mean, the theme of community is what comes to mind, right? And I think we've gotten this far on this project where it's happening. These buildings are going up right now. It will be opening up later this year, early next, the field house and the water park by next summer, because of community. People all across the north side, but also across the region who see this. So, our ask on the Park Foundation is let's keep building that community. Let's keep expanding that community. Go to our website, mplsparksfoundation.org, for the folks on the radio, so that they can see that. You can give. Like I said, right now, it's a match 2-1, thanks to the Wilson Foundation. I'd be remiss if I also didn't say thank you to U.S. Bank, who I know is also supporting this podcast. They've also been a generous contributor to this campaign. Contact your legislators, right? Right now, yes, say thank you to those legislators who have gone to bat for this project already. But we got a $6 million ask pending, and we need folks to step up, talk to their legislators, and convince them why that's important as well to support that $6 million ask. And then show up, right? Keep coming to the park. The park's open right now. It's not closed. It will never close throughout all this construction. And we want folks to see this. This is their park. And so please also stop by the park.
Al Bangura, Superintendent, last word is yours.
Oh, well, thank you. And I just would like to
And
say,
I'm going to suggest that you thank U.S. Bank as well. I'm so happy that they have stepped forward. And that's kind of a model for other companies to join as well. So go ahead.
Yeah, deeply thank U.S. Bank for this opportunity and for their support. I cannot express our gratitude, and their support has meant everything. It lets people know that this U.S. Bank is committed and they're supporting us, and so join in and this an incredible project. So thank you to U.S. Bank, and thank you to you, Al, for being here and being a part of this. We are really excited about this, and I would say that again. I'd like to also thank not only the people on here, like the Parks Foundation. For me, I want to make sure I thank them too, because they stepped into something here. This wasn't just about a shiny object on the hill. They've done amazing projects. Waterworks, the 26 Overlook, which now connects the north side to the river, which now connects to the trail. Incredible. That's the foundation, right? But they decided to step into something like this, which was truly neighborhood centric, and it was about people. And I am grateful for that, because that was the change for me that really meant something. That here we had our nonprofit, the Parks Foundation, that said, we're going to help and we're going to commit and be a part of this. So I'm grateful. I'm grateful to the community for their incredible dedication, their work, and their commitment over the years to get us to where we are today, to be able to sit here today and talk about this, to see that building going up was a commitment and dream and hope of the community. So grateful.
Thank you, Al Bangura, Charles Rucker, Commissioner Charles Rucker, Martin Wura. Thank you, Sean and Jennifer, Sean Lewis, Jennifer, I read your name, Jennifer Downham, right? Thank you all so much. I'm Al McFarlane. Thanks to U.S. Bank for supporting this program. We'll see you next time.